Kentucky Derby.
Now they move around the turn. The leader, War Admiral, 2.5 for 3.
Next for it is in the center of the racetrack. The Adams Sloop drawing alongside again.
War Emblem is still there. War Emblem, and he's pulling away. He's got another gear. Yeah, the Swiss they come in the Derby. Wheel away takes command. Lionheart is all heart. Smarty Jones is all out. And here is the first undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby since Seattle's Slow of 1976.
A busy Saturday on tap from morning to noon tonight. It's opening night at Churchill Downs, and we've got a lot of Derby horses expected to work here this morning as the final preparations continue. The draw for the Oaks and Derby here this evening, and like I said, lots going on. The main track is muddy. Again, a lot of rain yesterday. Partly cloudy temperature in the low to mid 50s, and it's time for the morning workout show presented by Twin Spires. Let's take a look at the headlines. We probably could have come up with about 20 of them this morning. A built rerouting to the Pat Day Mile. That is news as Neo Equos now joins the Kentucky Derby field. We'll take a look at the leaderboard in just a few moments. Couple of Derby works yesterday. Grande at Keeneland, Chunk of Gold at Turfway. They both advanced forward and vanned over to Churchill Downs yesterday afternoon. Likely favorite for the Kentucky Oaks, good cheer amongst yesterday's Oaks workers. We'll take a look back at that. Journalism sovereignty, our Adam Schefter on the backstretch, Kevin Kirstein providing us up-to-the-minute information. When are these horses going to work? A lot of them this morning, some of them maybe a little bit later on, a lot of them during the designated training period, maybe some pushback to tomorrow. Post-position draw for the Kentucky Derby and Oaks will be this evening between races 5 and 6 on the opening night Churchill Downs card. We mentioned Grande, the runner-up in the Wood Memorial in his most recent start for trainer Todd Pletcher and owner Mike Rapoli. Johnny Velasquez will be the rider in the Derbies. Had plenty of success in the run for the Roses. Grande arriving early yesterday afternoon following that work at Keeneland, which we will take a look back at in just a few moments. Grande only 3 races under his belt, but seems to be a progressive sort going into Kentucky Derby 151. Joe Christopher and Tony Kalo joining you. Looking forward to these workouts this morning, Tony. A little bit of a break, per se, before we get ready for the opening night card tonight. Not only racing tonight, but the draw for the Oaks and Derby.
Yeah, the Oaks draw, the Derby draw, that's what we're really anticipating. We can't wait for that. It's so important. It's so important in all of our handicapping decisions. And as Brian Hernandez says, it's great a week out. It gives the jockeys and trainers such a great amount of time to strategize for what they're going to do. Rosie
Napravnik knows quite a bit about strategizing for big races. She's high atop Churchill Downs on the 4th floor looking down at a lot of Kentucky Derby expected workouts this morning. Good morning, Rosie.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to be up here on the 4th floor again for this Saturday before the Derby. And looking forward to a lot of action today. The track has been a little bit of a question. It's muddy right now, but it will dry out throughout the day. They are planning to harrow it after for the designated training portion of the morning training. So we will see who brings their horses out today. I'm looking forward to seeing Burnham Square will be working with Brian Hernandez, and we had some really good eye-catching works yesterday from Good Cheer, Drexel Hill outside of Flying Mohawk. So lots we've seen so far and lots to come. Excited to see more of these Derby horses as we get closer to the post position draw later today. We'll see what Caitlin's got going on the backside.
Good morning, Rosie. Good morning, Tony and Joe as well. And not much going on the backside at the moment as we are taking a break for that harrowing at the moment. Looks like the track was also upgraded to muddy following the short break that we were having before those designated training times get ready to start for the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks horses. Works are going to be a question mark this morning. There's going to be some barns waiting till around 9 o'clock. American Promise already went early this morning for D. Wayne Lucas, and it sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a game time decision for team journalism with Mike McCarthy, waiting to see about the track conditions, whether or not he's going to work today or tomorrow. So we're going to wait and decide on that. But a busy Saturday coming up here, to say the least. And Kevin Kirstein reported this morning that all horses for the 151st Kentucky Derby are here on the backside, with Neo Equos just arriving here this morning.
Well, thanks, Caitlin. It's interesting because the track is drying out. We don't have any more rain coming today, so the track continues to dry. The second, the renovation break, 9 o'clock is when you get that fresh track. So we could have some workers then. We are going to have some workouts during the designated training period. But I do know one thing, Tony, this is the last day we're going to see the points leaderboard.
All right, yeah, because starting tomorrow, we will be having all the post positions up there.
Let's take a look at these horses. And, the post positions, we talk about them. We have an idea who we think is going to move forward early in the race. We have a much clearer picture now. Neo Equos drawing into the field as we take a look at the second 10. He's going to be a pace consideration.
Yes, he is.
Which speed horses are going to draw outside of which speed horses in both the Derby and the Oaks kind of help us visualize as much as we can going into next weekend's race.
Yeah, post position is very, very important, especially in a race of the magnitude of the Kentucky Derby. These 3-year-olds will be facing off with 19 rivals if all 20 go to the post, and they'll never run into a field size like that ever again in their careers.
Render Judgment, number 21, by Aza, number 22 on the outside looking in, made this little brother. He's the one on the AEs that all people handicapping the Derby are most interested in. Flying Mohawk, he has been a turf horse, a synthetic horse during the course of his career, Tony, for trainer Whit Beckman, but he earned his way in with that runner-up performance in the Jeff Ruby.
Yeah, he ran big in the Jeff Ruby. He had a lot of momentum working through the turn. He just couldn't quite match Final Gambit in the final furlong, but non-disgrace second place finish. Very, very good race. He's relatively fresh. He's only had a couple of races as 3-year-olds, and Flying a Mohawk, one of the contenders for Whit Beckman.
You want to see how he's going to train on the dirt, though. That's a surface that the Kentucky Derby has run over. He's on the inside here of Drexel Hill, a contender for the Oaks. Not a typical work that you see going into a race like the Oaks and Derby. A colt for the Derby and a filly for the Oaks, Tony.
Yeah, you know what I like about this work is Flying Mohawk seems to do his best running from far off the pace, and I find it very interesting that Whit put him on the inside. The inside horse in a tandem work is going to take more pressure. He's asked to do a little bit more. You can see that Flying Mohawk really wants to go, and the jock has just got a tight hold of him. I like this move from both horses, no question about it.
Let's talk to Rosie Napravnik here. And, Flying Mohawk, I think he's handling the dirt well, but the filly is really keeping up with him here. Nice work for both, Rosie.
Yeah, this was a nice solid maintenance work in a minute flat, and it definitely looks like Flying Mohawk is handling the dirt just fine, but really the eye-catching one for me was Drexel Hill on the outside. She was just super relaxed the entire move and just well within herself. You can see coming to the wire, Flying Mohawk's rider is actually a little lower, asking for a little bit just to keep a nose in front, and then they both gallop out really well together. I just thought it was a super positive mood for both horses. I actually ran into Ben Curtis after the work on the backside, and he gave the credit to Whit for breezing these two together and said it was just a great match, and he was really, really thrilled with how the filly went. He was aboard for that breeze yesterday.
Flying Mohawk for the Derby, Drexel Hill for the Oaks, but also Simply Joking, a top contender for this year's Kentucky Oaks as well. What does Whit Beckman think about this work, and how his horses are coming in to the races next weekend?
They're similar type horses. Like, I don't really care if colt filly, it doesn't really matter. They're both, they both have a lot of ability, that's what I'm trying to say. So knowing that they're kind of on the same style, they both come from behind, they're both just, similar type horses. Drexel and Flying Mohawk, both of them are coming off longer layoffs, and we just wanted a good, solid 5/8, something to kind of, open up their lungs, and they both did it great. She is coming together exactly how I would have wanted her to. We took a gamble not running her a final prep, but like I said, with the shipping and just everything that was going to go into it, we felt it would benefit her more to have the layoff. So far, it seems to be the right move. We'll see how she, kind of finishes up on Friday, but right now I'm super optimistic. She's fit as she can be, and ready to go. He's doing great. If anybody can tell me by watching his last couple of works he's not a dirt or not a dirt horse, I'd argue with him, because even though he hasn't run on dirt yet, he's doing everything that he needs to do emphatically to prove that he belongs in this race.
Drexel Hill is proven on the dirt. Flying Mohawk not in the afternoons but in the mornings, and You got to try it, right? You can always go back to the turf. We know how good he is on the grass, but to Flying Mohawk more than handling himself well in the mornings on the main track.
You know, Witt has said that he thinks he will move up with a wet racetrack. A little bit of moisture in the racetrack, perhaps that aided the way he was going over it as well. But, you know, hey, I like the horse. I'm always rooting for everybody, and you have an opportunity to run in the Kentucky Derby. How can you pass it up?
Post position draw tonight. Lots of strategizing, maybe more so for some than others. Some of the deeper out the back closers know exactly what they want to happen in the Derby in order for their horses to make their best runs. Standing by with one of those riders is Caitlin Free.
Well, thank you, Joe. I'm here with Junior Alvarado, and he's finally getting his Sovereignty interview. He was a little bit disappointed when Sovereignty won the Street Sense, and I interviewed Michael from Godolphin. He was like, what about me? But finally going to get your Sovereignty interview here. I just want to ask you, coming off of that shoulder injury you had, how are you feeling getting back in the saddle the last couple of weeks?
You know, I feel great, actually. You know, I feel better than I thought. You know, when I got on the horses in the morning before I came here, you know, I feel a little stiff, but, you know, that got loosened up very quick, and you know, I'm, 100% right now.
Injuries are always something that is scary, no matter if it's serious or if it's something that's maybe not as serious, kind of like what you had. But there had to be some anxious moments thinking you could maybe miss out on an opportunity riding a horse like Sovereignty in the Derby.
Oh, yeah, big time. That went through my mind. I thought that was it. I thought I was going to be done for the Derby this year, and I was completely shattered when I found out that they say it's a small fracture, you know, you might recover quick, but you know, sometimes you never know it. But yeah, I thought that was it. It was like everything just disappeared at that time. But you know, good thing, you know, I healed pretty quick, and you know, I'm back on time.
Let's go ahead and chat about Sovereignty. Speaking of him, you were off of him last time since you were out injured. Is he a little bit more of a less straightforward horse than maybe some of the other horses in this race? It's maybe a little more rider specific.
You know, I guess, you know, sometimes I work those horses with Mr. Mont since they're a baby, a 2-year-old. So I just think sometimes, you know, I know what to do with them since, you know, I get on when they're very babies, and we kind of teach them a way to go. And I think that actually that helps. For me, it's a big help because I know what they want and what to expect from them too. So that could be a little possibility that he might be just that kind of horse.
Going to talk a little bit about how he is in the mornings. He's been a little warm some of the times that he's been here. Sometimes he hasn't been. What really is his normal, since you're probably the man that's most familiar with this horse outside of Belmont?
Yeah, you know, most of the time when I saw him in Florida and Payson, you know, he was a cool, you know, but he has his day where he will be a little washed out, you know, for no reason. He will just come out one day a little extra hot, but I don't think it really bothers him. I just think that's just him, you know. Once here and there, he all the times, you know, washed out a little bit, but nothing bad.
Going to also talk now about Anna's Promise, your ride coming up in the Kentucky Oaks. Set to work her in just a few minutes. She's going to go during this designated training time. You told me you worked her once at Keeneland. What do you feel you still really need to learn about her looking forward to the Kentucky Oaks now 6 days out?
Yeah, you know, I broke her maiden and Gulfstream, so I worked her last time. You know, she feels straightforward. You know, I think, you know, there is going to be a very tough race. You know, we're clear on that. But, you know, we have to be in it to win it, and we'll see how she handles the tracks today, and we'll take it from there.
She definitely seems like she is progressing in the right direction, though.
Yes, he seemed more straightforward. You know, last time, like I said, when I worked in Keeneland, you know, she was very nice, long stride, you know, and like I said, hopefully we can get the best of her coming into the Oaks.
All right, well, best of luck going on with the rest of your morning here, Junior, and I'll see you tonight for the post position draw.
All right, thank you.
Junior Alvarado joining me here on the backside. He said he was going to be there for the draw later on tonight. Got Anna's Promise and Sovereignty coming up next weekend.
Well, thanks, Caitlin. Go way back with Junior Alvarado. His time at Arlington Park, where, you know, he was very successful, moved his tack to New York, and he does a lot of the riding aboard the bigger horses. As he mentioned, him and Belmont, a great partnership.
Yeah, very great partnership. You know, 3 Breeders' Cup victories, a Saudi Cup, a Met Mile. He's won a lot of big races, and I think he fits Sovereignty perfectly.
Tractors are harrowing the racetrack, as you can see. It was sloppy, then it was muddy. This racetrack dries out, the main track here, like no other in the country. So it's on its way. We'll see what we get during the designated training period. Citizen Bull made his first appearance on the racetrack here yesterday, Tony, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, and some question whether or not he'll keep the blinkers on or if he's going to toss the blinkers aside.
Yeah, it's a very important question because I liked what I was able to see from him with the blinkers off in that workout. I know the mate wasn't anything to write home about, maybe an unraced 2-year-old, but still the way he did it, spotting that rival, plenty of lengths, reeling him in, coming home like a nice thing. You know, he looks the part. He has a tremendous body to him. He's just chiseled, muscled out, and he just has to show us that he can do things when it's not a dream setup. That's when he's been at his best, when he's had everything to his liking, a little bit of adversity dealing with pace pressure in the Santa Anita Derby, and that was one of his worst races to date. But he did need that affair. It was his first start in a couple of months.
The Churchill Downs main track is not a china shop, and if it was, Citizen Bull might have broken a few things. He looks really good out there, Rosie, with that neck bowed. Good first appearance here for sure.
Yeah, this horse is just a ball of energy, and honestly, you know, it's great to see, although I was not envious of his rider who was being tugged around there just on the outside of the track while just jogging. But I mean, this horse just looks absolutely all business all the time. And it just looks fantastic in his physique. I mean, he is a well-muscled, well-conformed horse. And, you know, I think the distance is a little bit of a question for this horse, and then whether or not he can, you know, adjust to a pace scenario that may not go his way. So interesting to see what Bob decides with the blinkers, if he'll take those off in an effort to get the horse to relax a little bit, or keep him on and just say, we're going to the lead.
Another strapping individual. We oftentimes wonder how horses get their name, but this one is kind of fitting. It's Grande, the runner-up in the Wood Memorial in his most recent start, behind the Gate to Wire winner Rodriguez. Tony, he's only had 3 starts. I think the best is yet to come for this horse. Will it be Kentucky Derby Day? That remains to be seen.
You know, that's a big question for a Grande, very inexperienced with only the 3 races. I did like his Wood Memorial. He was kind of against the flow a little bit. Everything was favorable for Rodriguez, a freewheeler all alone on the lead, and Grande was running on nicely in the concluding stages. Upside is there. The question is it too soon for him to really peak? Maybe later this summer, as you mentioned.
Johnny Velasquez has had a lot of success in the Kentucky Derby. He's aboard Grande for this work. Now he's going to work with a horse named Valentinian, who's no slouch in his own right. He won his career debut at Tampa for Todd Pletcher, was 3rd in a recent Keeneland allowance. And Rosie, as we send it back to you, this is his first workout since the Wood Memorial. We've seen other horses get 2 works in advance of the Derby. Grande's on the outside here. Take us through it.
Yeah, and you know, Todd is one of the best horsemen out here, so I'm sure, you know, there's some strategic planning there to having just one work, but you can see he is ready to go, and the workmate is struggling to keep his nose in front, even in the beginning of the work, and I'm sure Johnny's keeping a little space between them here just to really allow the workmate to come through on the inside, so he's not gaining too much ground outside of him too early on in the work. But Grande looks like he's just absolutely moving effortlessly here at Keeneland. He switches leads there. He looks very smooth. Johnny is just sitting chilly and coming to the wire. I mean, this is just a really nice maintenance work, very typical of Todd. You know, it looks like this horse is really moving well coming into the Derby.
Gallop out's important here, and he is asked a little bit on the gallop out, Tony. I didn't think this was a great move, honestly. It's going to move down my list a little bit. I think, you know, like I said earlier, best is yet to come. I can't get it out of my mind that maybe the Belmont 5 weeks, that is a Todd Pletcher move.
He is a big horse, and you know, he likes to probably do his running from a little further off, and he was trying to stay close to the workmate. He's relatively fresh, as you mentioned. You know, that's only his first workout since the Wood Memorial. So he's a good-looking individual, as is most of these 3-year-olds. They are beautiful, that's for sure.
From Keeneland to Turfway and Chunk of Gold with Jarrett Loveberry aboard. This is a horse that's really growing on me.
Hey, I like the horse. I thought he ran a bang-up second in the Leonidas. I remember watching the race call, and I was a big Baby Max fan going into that race, and this was the one that really impressed me. What a turn of foot he had in the final furlong in that runner-up effort. And then Ethan West decided, let's go dirt, let's go to Louisiana, and he ran very well in a couple of starts at the fairgrounds.
Certainly did, and he worked yesterday with Jarrett Loveberry aboard Brodeur on the inside. A recent $125,000 claim by Ethan West out of his last start at Keeneland. They go 47-2 to the half, 59-1 galloping out. And Paige West, Ethan West's wife, was touting the workmate, and Chunk of Gold caught the workmate very, very easily and galloped out nicely here. This is a horse that is coming into this race the right way, that is certainly going to fly under the radar. All right, again, opening night at Churchill Downs tonight, and it does launch not only the racing, but great promotions from Twin Spires. This one in particular, Tony, the money back offer again in the eligible races. It's every race. If they're eligible, every race between tonight and Kentucky Derby Day, if you bet a horse to win and they run second or third in the eligible races, make sure you check out the rules. You'll get up to $10 back. It's kind of insurance on your win bet.
It's cool because, you know, there's a lot of action all week long, and sometimes you might forget that you're going to get that $10 back, and all of a sudden you've got extra money in the account.
We're about 10 minutes away from the designated training time. Who's going to work? Who's going to wait till 9 o'clock? Who's going to wait till tomorrow? Decisions to be made, but we do know we're going to see a lot of the Kentucky Derby horses on the racetrack. We're also going to take a look back at the Oaks contenders right after this.
Place your bets with Twin Spires Handicapping Insights, our expert picks, or just by choosing a name that catches your eye. No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.
Like the Kentucky Derby, Woodford Reserve Bourbon is a spectacle for the senses.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show. The track renovation continues. Again, the racetrack will open back up about 9 minutes from now. Designated training period for the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby horses. The road to the Kentucky Derby is a journey for the horses, the trainers, the owners, and the jockeys. A special YouTube feature on Jose Ortiz. The first episode dropped yesterday. The second episode dropped this morning. The third one will drop tomorrow morning, and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at a little piece of Jose Ortiz's journey.
So you've won 3 races in the last 2 in a row. Does that give you confidence in riding?
You know, when you get in that groove, you just want to keep going out there.
The road to the Kentucky Derby continues here at Keeneland today. We've got the Breeders' Futurity Grade 1 race.
If you think you can win,
win. Yeah, there you go.
The journey to the Derby, Jose Ortiz from Churchill to Keeneland to New Orleans, all over the country to find his Derby horse, which wound up, as we know, being Sandman. And you can take a ride along with Jose on his journey to the Kentucky Derby every morning on YouTube. You can catch those episodes all the way through the lead up to the Kentucky Derby. Let's take a look at the Oaks leaderboard. 20 in the Derby, 14 in the Kentucky Oaks. Again, Tony, the draw tonight. We'll get the post positions and those morning lines.
Yeah, looking forward to that, no question about it. A good cheer. The definitive favorite for the Kentucky Oaks. She's done nothing wrong in her career.
And we're going to take a look back at her work from yesterday here in a moment. There you see Anna's Promise, which will be Junior Alvarado's mount in the Kentucky Oaks. And good cheer. You know, she's done it all in her races. She is a perfect 6 for 6. And she has not disappointed in her workouts either. This is a work from Good Cheer yesterday. Saucier, a decent 3-year-old filly, was 5th on debut at Fairgrounds, is going to be the sparring partner as we bring Rosie back in. And Good Cheer, she's undefeated. She is the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks, the unquestioned favorite, and she's doing nothing to have handicappers kind of jump off of her at this point.
Yeah, if there's ever a favorite that gives you no reason to go against her, it's Good Cheer this year. I think you could have worked her with any horse and she would have done just exactly what you asked her to do. She settles really nicely out of Saucier, and they have this decent maintenance minute and 2/5, and I mean, she sits pretty. She's well within herself, very relaxed, even with the blinkers on, and finishes up just a nice, even work, which is what most of these trainers are looking for at this point leading up to the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah, I don't think the pace is going to be a question. I don't think the mile and an 8 distance is going to be a question either for Good Cheer. It really only matters to a certain extent what we think. What does Brad Cox think?
It was a good move. I had a minute, 1:13.1. She's always steady. Very good workhorse, always gallops out well. Louis was on her. First time he's ever breezed her. He liked what he felt, so we're all set up.
Couldn't be coming into the race any better. Should have some speed to run at, as I mentioned. Good cheer. The favorite in the Kentucky Oaks, unquestionably. One of the horses that she'll likely have as a target is Simply Joking, Tony, and this is Whit Beckman's other filly in the race. We saw Drexel Hill earlier, and you know, she just continues to impress. Even the way she works, you could tell that she's going forward.
Yeah, you really can. She seems to be thriving. She's been doing nothing but very, very solid workouts since getting here. She's relatively fresh. She's only had one race since the middle of January. I think she's a major player.
Rosie, quickly, again, this horse has been training fantastically well.
Yeah, I mean, she had a really good move. She seemed to handle the track that was not ideal yesterday. Still a lot of moisture on the track yesterday, and she just skipped right over it. And a really solid move in 47 and 3. I mean, that's a pretty quick work for a maintenance half before the big day, but she does it so easily and gallops out without being asked all the way around the turn. So really nice move from Simply Joking.
Earlier we heard from Whit Beckman about Flying Mohawk and Drexel Hill. What does he think about this work from Simply Joking?
Simply Joking last week had a sharp enough work with Drexel Hill, so I just kind of wanted to separate those two. They both did plenty last week. So Simply Joking, we just did a nice easy half on her own, which, you know, time-wise looked less than easy, but for her it was very easy. Something a little more relaxed than last week. When you put her in company, she's intense. You know, she's a competitor. She's going to try to outwork and, you know, do a little bit more than, you know, I thought we needed to do in this last work. We just wanted something smooth, something easy, something relaxed. You know, she is a horse that's going to run closer to the lead. So, you know, we just want something to kind of get her keep her moving, but at the same time, not too much. Keep her fresh-ish.
Simply Joking and Quiet Side threw it down in the fantasy. It was a tremendous match race, so to speak, from the 5/16 to the wire in that event. We saw Simply Joking working solo at Churchill Downs yesterday. Quiet Side got her final major preparation in at Keeneland. And Tony, this is a horse that I really could not be more impressed with. You know, much like Simply Joking, we know she's going to go forward to a large extent, but she just glides over the racetrack.
She really does. She's been nothing but short of impressive. She's been very impressive, what I'm trying to say, in all of her races throughout her career. You know, she was very competitive against Immersive, the champion 2-year-old filly last year, and she has been very solid in her races this year. That was quite a race with her and Simply Joking, and I don't think she needs to be as forward as she has been in her recent starts. She has the ability to sit and finish.
I would agree with that. Rosie, comparing this work to Simply Joking, you see the ears up right there, two horses with similar running styles.
My gosh, I mean, she looks like she's just out there galloping. I mean, the expression on her face is just happy to be here, well within herself. You know, she's not even, didn't even realize she was in a breeze until maybe the last 16th of a mile, but what a good move. What a nice stride she has. I mean, just really opens up, handled that track beautifully yesterday. I mean, there's nothing I don't like about that work. Gallops out all on her own. You can see her rider does not even, and maybe even saying, okay, that's enough, we've got to pull up now, but didn't have to ask her for any gallop out. I mean, she just looked absolutely content out there to skip along in 48 and 1.
My love for her is growing.
I agree.
I've got a horse crush on Quiet Side. There's no question about it. A track upgrade to good as we move closer to the designated training hour. Dwayne Lucas working American Promise earlier this morning. Let's take a look back at that. And again, a very, very good looking individual, Tony. And again, another horse based on what we've seen from his track work in the mornings that we expect to go forward.
This crop of 3-year-olds, there are some lookers. There are some horses that have tremendous bodies, and this might be the biggest of them all. He's over 17 hands. You know, the question is he good enough? He's coming out of that one-turn race in the Virginia Derby. Figures to be forward with the moves that he's been putting in leading up to 1 week from today.
We want to bring Caitlin back in here because she got to see this horse win the Virginia Derby in that one-turn race that Tony alluded to. What are your impressions of American Promise here, Caitlin?
Joe, this is a horse that's actually growing on me. I know the plan is definitely going to be to go to the front. I don't know if he'll be on the leader, if he's going to stalk just off of the flank of Rodriguez, potentially East Avenue or Owen Almighty, whoever decides to go. I think also the plan maybe for Owen Almighty would be to kind of be in a pressing or a stalking type of a position. That kind of was indicated by the work that he turned in earlier this week. But if I were another horse, I wouldn't want American Promise sitting just off of my flank, being the biggest horse here in this field. He's a really imposing type of a horse. He really commands himself with a lot of confidence. And the 1.25 miles is going to be no problem for this horse. Definitely is a question mark going from a 1-turn 1 1/8 to the 2-turn 1.25 miles. But this is a horse that's really growing on me. I'm just not sure what to expect from him coming on Saturday, but I do think a lot of it's going to depend on post position.
Nick Juarez, the rider for the Kentucky Derby, aboard American Promise, aboard for the work this morning. Place to play the races at Churchill Downs, if you're not here on track, is Twin Spires. And they've got a lot of great promotions. We talked about the money back offer earlier, but also big in the tournament world, Tony, and an opportunity to qualify on opening night tonight for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge coming up in 1 week. Huge tournament.
Huge tournament. All sorts of money up for grabs. All the seats for all the upcoming tournaments later on this year. If you're not part of it, you want to get in tonight, you can try to qualify for $800. A lot more affordable than $5,000 a week from today.
And half of that money is your bankroll.
Yes.
So you play the races, you win, you more than cover the $800, and you qualify for this tournament, which is worth a quarter of $250,000 and a lot more. Lots going on tonight. We talked about the betting challenge coming up a week from today and the qualifier here this evening. That's because we have live racing, Tony, beginning at 5 o'clock. Looking very forward to that card. It's got some nice balance and some meat to it. And then halfway through, we're going to take a little bit of a break, draw the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. You're going to be calling some races. There's a lot going on later.
Yeah, there really is. Looking forward to it. Live action back here at Churchill Downs. We're getting close, fans. In about 12, 13 hours, we're going to know all the post positions, and then it starts, Joe. Tuesday to Saturday, we better get tied on.
The only disappointment I have is that it's Roaring 20s night and I don't get to dress up in a costume, because that would have been a fun one. I've done that one before. I will be in a suit and tie here this evening. It is opening night at Churchill Downs as we advance towards Kentucky Derby week. Speaking of the Derby horses on the racetrack live, along with their Oaks counterparts, right after this.
As they head to the backstretch, it's a tight pack.
He's going to pull ahead. The Twin Spires expert picks were all optimistic.
You've got the best speeder rating in the field. Don't fail me now.
Man, I love this horse's name.
And from far behind, here comes Frank. It's neck and neck. Frank is winning. Frank wins!
No matter how you pick your horse, bet with Twin Spires, the official betting partner of the Kentucky Derby. Get your money back if your horse finishes second or third in eligible races.
We are back on the Kentucky Derby Morning Workout Show presented by Twin Spires. Again, lots of rain. Last couple of days, in fact. We had an off track yesterday, an off track this morning. It is drying out. We saw Sandman, the first one to enter the arena as the Derby and Oaks horses stretch their legs. The filly counterpart for Mark Casse, La Cara, is on the racetrack as well. And we know La Cara and Sandman, Tony, are just going to, get out there and stretch their legs and gallops. They already had their final works for the Derby and Oaks a couple of days ago.
Yes, they did. Sandman very relaxed, finishing up with good interest, a nice strong gallop out. La Cara, freewheeling, really full of herself, huh? She, she's been one of my girls for a long time.
I want to bring Caitlin back in if we can, because she's on the backstretch. She gets to hear a lot of the buzz that's going on. I think of the horses that are going to be bigger prices, Caitlin, Publisher could be deemed as the buzz horse. Would you agree with that?
I would say he was maybe the buzz horse a little bit earlier on in the week. He's definitely one of the buzz horses when it comes to some of the longer price type of ones. I would say, based on what we saw yesterday, Citizen Bull may get a little bit more buzz than I was originally expecting, because he just looked like a monster coming onto the track. But of the two as Musin trainees, Publisher is definitely the one that's been getting a little bit more fanfare.
Rosie, your impressions of Publisher? I mean, he's still a maiden. He hasn't won a race yet. You know, that is a concern. You need to learn how to win a race. Do you learn how to win a race in the Kentucky Derby?
Well, I'll tell you what, from what I know about Steve Asmussen, he's not one to run a horse in a race if he doesn't think that he's got a good reason to. And this horse absolutely caught my eye yesterday. When he and Tistastic came out to train, I was glued to Publisher. And he's one, like, you can even see just now. And this is a typical thing for Steve to do with his horses, is just walk them for a while before they start their warm-up at the jog and then gallop or breeze. And it's, you know, it's just credit to his horsemanship. The walking is such an important part of the warm-up, but this horse is such a professional, you know, just goes out there and does his job, has a nice smooth gallop.
Want to bring Caitlin back in. We didn't get to see too much of Luxor Cafe yesterday. He's going to get a little bit more of a leg stretcher jogging on the track right now.
Yeah, he's just going out there a little bit slower on the track. He's been out on the track for quite a while now that they're allowed to go onto the track proper. He was circling in the chute a little bit with Admire Daytona. And I will say about Luxor Cafe as compared to his fellow countrymen, he's maybe a little bit more of a heavier, imposing type of an individual. This horse, while maybe a little bit taller height-wise, reminds me a lot of his sire, American Pharaoh.
It's interesting. He looks really relaxed out there, Rosie, not tugging. He's not asking to do any more, but the ears are up. I mean, what are you seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, they clearly they have some intention with making this a really easy gallop. He's galloping really quite slow and really manageable for his rider, you know, especially going at such a slow pace. But, I mean, looks happy, looks content, not distracted by the crowd here that we're starting to accumulate down on the front side. Just a nice, easy gallop. And I've got Citizen Bull here actually coming off, starting to gallop at the wire here as well.
Luxor Cafe, Tony, these horses, admittedly for me, are tough to evaluate.
I agree. I mean, I don't know a lot about the Japanese competition underneath both Luxor Cafe and Admire Daytona. I will say I did like his turn of foot in his recent win.
A couple of months ago, this was the horse that was number 1 on my Kentucky Oaks list, Tony, Tenma, for Bob Baffert. She ran so well in the earlier preps, maybe took a little bit of a step backwards, at least speed figure-wise, in the Santa Anita Oaks. She also may have needed that race. So to me, again, do I go back to her? Do I believe in what I saw last time? You know, obviously, quiet side's my gal, but I certainly respect Tenma's chances.
Yeah, I think she can go forward off the Santa Anita Oaks. I think Bob was quoted as saying that the track was a little looser, a little cuppier that particular day, very tiring, demanding racetrack, so the speed figure didn't come back quite as well as some of her previous races. You know, if she reverts back to those top figures, she's in the mix, no question about it.
Well, let's go back to Rosie here, easing into this breeze, Rosie.
Yeah, it looks like they started actually at the 3/8 pole, and maybe she'll be going past the wire. I believe she's slated to work a half. She's quite a bit off the rail here, and which is actually probably just the best footing. There's just a little bit of extra moisture closer to the rail, but moving really easily. A nice sharp work, I think. You can see her rider's got a little loop in the rein, not really asking, not really pulling, and they are definitely going out after the wire. It looks like they're going to work to the 5/8 pole from the 3/8 pole to make a half-mile work. And let's see how she gallops out here. You can see the rider is kind of like letting up on her and letting her gallop out as opposed to asking her to gallop out, but an easy move for her, and I expect that that's a bit of a sharp time.
I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. The California horses are really acclimating well since their arrival. They all seem to be making very favorable impressions.
Very, very good point. There's Tenma. We'll get some times from Kevin Kirstein here in a bit, and we'll shift gears over to see what we got coming up next. Again, Oaks and Derby horses working here this morning as the track continues to dry out. Also some pushing back to 9 o'clock after that renovation break, and maybe some even pushing back even further to tomorrow. These decisions, Tony, are kind of sort of happening on the fly here.
Well, they have to. You know, the weather dictates a lot what's going to happen with these breezes. I liked what Rosie mentioned there about the gallop out, not a lot of urging. You know, sometimes you have to urge a horse to gallop out with enthusiasm. That was not the case there with Tenma.
We are expecting Burnham Square to work. If we can bring Caitlin back in for this. This is one of the horses that Kevin Kirstein has, mentioned to us is staying on schedule, is going to go here. And Caitlin, just seeing it on the screen right now, that racetrack really seems to be drying out nicely.
Yeah, it looks like it's really, really drying out quickly. Kevin reported that it was updated to good about 10 or so minutes ago. I think probably by that 9 o'clock break, you can maybe think that we could even be upgraded to fast at that point. Definitely going to be fast when we go to post time for the opening tonight for opening night. But Burnham Square looking like he's getting ready to go here. And this is a horse that I have just been massively impressed with in the mornings, whether it's working or galloping. He's just well within himself. Looks like he's raring to go. And like Ian said, if he doesn't do something with this horse a lot of times, he is just absolutely ready to beat the barns down.
We saw that, Caitlin, thank you, in that work last week where he came back off of the bluegrass, which was delayed because of all the rains that we had here in Kentucky. And you would think that he wouldn't be, necessarily as fresh as he was, but he was headstrong. Rosie, what are you looking from this horse today where he was a little tough to settle? Maybe that's just him, but this is obviously a maintenance work going into the Derby.
Yeah, and he's working by himself. Brian is just masterful, with his hands on the reins, and I'm sure we'll get him to settle. But you want to see him that when they're wanting to go. He's taken to the pole with the pony just to make sure he doesn't do too much before the breeze. But you can see he's kind of got his head down, runs kind of a little bit like a bull, but he looks like he is going quite quick in the beginning of this work. So I think they're probably going to keep a hold of him here. Brian's just sitting against him here going into the turn, moving really well over the surface, it appears. This is a horse that I've been waiting to see all week because I really loved his last race. And now, they're settling into the turn and coming into the stretch. He looks fantastic. Brian just checking his watch there, making sure that he's doing exactly what they want to do. And he's actually rather close to the rail. Sometimes when the track holds a little bit of moisture, if you can get a little bit closer to the sealed part of the track, it's a little bit firmer and easier for the horse. But gosh, he looks like he's striding out beautifully. Brian actually asking him for a little bit coming to the wire here. So looking for a little bit of a sharp work. Checks his watch again here, and he's just going to let him gallop out. So we'll see, and he's doing this very willingly. I mean, this looks like a horse that is training beautifully coming into this race.
This happens every year, maybe not so much as this year, Tony, but too many horses are growing on me. My list, top 10, how many can we actually throw out?
I agree, and that should be expected. We're talking about quality racehorses, the best of the 3-year-old crop, and that was a great move. That was a better move than last week. He was a lot more settled early. He wanted to go, not as eager as last week, and he just leveled off beautifully.
Look at me, he's still going.
You mentioned something that I wasn't really kind of thinking about, but he's a gelding, and we're going to see him for a long, long time.
You would hope.
How cool would it be if he wins the Kentucky Derby? And most Kentucky Derby winners don't make it to their 4-year-old campaign. Being a gelding, we could see him for quite some time. It could be really good for the sport.
No, the 3-year-old's value, obviously the purse of the Derby is huge, but winning the Derby increases your stud value, dependent on how the rest of your career goes, dependent on how your pedigree is. But this horse has to earn his way on the racetrack, talking about Burnham Square, the lone gelding in the field. Here's Baeza. This is the first appearance for Baeza, talking about these Southern California horses, the Bob Baffert Brigade journalism. Now Baeza, who is Maida's little brother, Dornock's little brother. And Rosie, what are you seeing?
Yeah, he just galloped past me, and he caught my eye, and I was like looking at the saddle tail to find out who it was. But he looks fantastic on the track, Baeza, and getting along well with his rider. You can tell they have a pretty good relationship. He and the exercise rider. He's kind of tugging on the reins, but also being respectful of the rider and staying within himself. There's a lot of Derby horses out here galloping, taking advantage of this track.
It's interesting, Tony, because in the Santa Anita Derby got run down by Journalism. He made the lead. He's inexperienced. We talk about Sandman getting lost on the lead in the Arkansas Derby. This horse was a little bit green. Journalism caught him. Journalism had a tough trip. To even get up was incredible. But Baeza did re-break on the gallop out in front. This is a horse that's got a lot of upside. He does.
We are hoping he draws in. It'd be a shame if he didn't. The runner-up as the Santa Anita Derby. Look at him. He's got good size to him. I tell you what, Joe, imagine being a judge for Miss America. And you have to say, no, you're not pretty enough.
Please. Yes, please.
Well, yes, please. But what I'm getting at is, there are so many lookers. And there are so many lookers in this. This is getting more and more difficult.
Yeah.
I was kind of already had my mind
Me too.
made up, settling for who I was going to go with. And every time a horse steps up and he comes in with a good work or a good appearance in the gallop, oh boy, I like him. I like him. What have you done for me lately? Just show me Journalism, the last horse on the Derby Works show, and then I know I've got my horse.
There you go. But the problem is that's not everybody else's horse, but that's the favorite. So it's a gambling game. We're trying to find other horses that we like. They're going to offer better value. We'll see if Baeza gets in. We got a lot of workout times here from Kevin Kirstein.
Yes.
Tenma, she winds up going 48-2, galloping out 101 and we've got Burnham Square 59-1 for Burnham Square. We saw how
that
quick
looked like a good move
and an effortless move.
Yes.
From her. And as promised, 1 minute and 1/5. We didn't get to see that one. We'll see if we get to eventually see that. She galloped out 1:13-3. Take Charge Milady. There's been some question about her. She missed the work yesterday. Kenny McPeak said she had a little bit of a hoof issue. She is a major player on paper for the Kentucky Oaks. She did not work today. She just 2-minute lick. So waiting to get some more information, hopefully, from Kenny on how she's doing. Good to see her at least back on the racetrack today.
Yeah, I liked her runner-up effort in the Ashland. She had good enthusiasm hitting the line, and I thought the extra real estate would help her. Only one poor performance really on paper other than the debut run, the Honeybee. Take Charge Milady. Definitely want to see her.
There you see Baeza, the runner-up in the Santa Anita Derby. And now the time has come, drum roll please, to see the horse that beat him, Journalism, King Kong.
King Kong.
Look at this horse.
I mean, he's a monster.
He's not going to work, Tony. He's not going to work.
Okay,
so
all right.
We're being told he's not going to work, so he's just going to gallop today. Let's send it back to Rosie in regards to Journalism. Not going to work today, Rosie. I'm looking forward to seeing that work tomorrow. Just adds more meat to the bone on the show as we get ready for tomorrow morning's morning works.
I mean, for Derby and Oaks, both of the likely favorites going into these races are just giving you nothing to doubt them. I mean, they're both training so well. Journalism looks fantastic out here. He's the one that I'm drawn to every time I see him. He's just and I noticed this in his races too. He's just there to do his job, and he's very content, happy within himself. You can see he's got a great relationship with this rider. They just get along so well. Looks fantastic. I mean, just a joy to watch. I mean, I'm just sitting up here Googling over Journalism, and lots of others out here too are just training really well. There's not a lot of horses out here asking you to play against them.
No, the ears are up, and it's just the way he moves. He just kind of bounds along, and then you add that to the physicality. Let's bring Caitlin back in. Based on what we've seen this morning, Caitlin, all of it positive. This is almost like a highlight reel of Oaks and Derby horses.
It absolutely was. It was a busy morning. So it looks like they're going to wait, obviously, for tomorrow for Journalism to get that scheduled work in. I'm not changing my mind on this horse. I love the way that he has looked. He has not turned a hair since he has arrived, didn't turn one at all out in California. So everything that I've seen from him, I absolutely love from Journalism. So I'm not going to change my mind on this horse. I wouldn't even care probably if he even drew post position 1. That's how much I like this horse in this race.
We're gonna keep you here, Caitlin, because Sovereignty is the next gallop that we're gonna take a look at here This was moments ago. I'm guessing this is going to be a gallop for him. I'm guessing he is not going to work.
I don't think so. Junior actually told me off camera that this horse is scheduled to work tomorrow. I thought that had been reported, maybe not, but he's going to work tomorrow instead of today. So this is just going to be a routine gallop here for Sovereignty. But one thing that I will say, Junior said it obviously is just kind of dependent whether this horse is going to get a little bit warm. It's just something that he does sometimes really no rhyme or reason for. But I think he's really settled down nicely the last few days here at Churchill.
No, I mean, he certainly
I agree
has.
with that.
We want to see him, Rosie, when he comes off the track. That's kind of sort of when we've seen him get a little bit lathered up, much less yesterday. We saw it in the video earlier on the show, much less yesterday, barely noticeable yesterday than we saw the 2 days previous.
Yeah, I was taking notice of him as he galloped under the wire, absolutely cool today. There's not even a shine to him. So, he's not getting overheated today, and the air is cool here too. So I think it would be maybe a little bit more concerning if he was getting hot. But I also, I give credit to what Junior said. Junior said he's not worried about the horse getting hot, and I think that is worth going with. And you can see him here walking off the track, and he looks cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, he looks great. I mean, not a hint of sweat anywhere. And Tony, you've been hinting that this is your Derby horse.
Without a doubt. I have Journalism 1, Sovereignty 2. Sovereignty will be offering more value. I really loved his street sense. I loved his Fountain of Youth final furlong. I thought that was the most impressive final furlong I've seen of any of these horses. He fits the part. Look at him. I mean, him and Journalism, the thing I like about both of them is they have big, strong necks, shoulders, chest that match their hind quarters. I like both these horses. Big Exacta box coming my way.
Reached out to Samantha Perry, who does a great job at Gulfstream, along with my guy Brian Nadeau, and she mentioned the horse did get wet prior to the Florida Derby and still ran second. I think the horse is calming all concerns, particularly with the way he went and looks today. Here's Admire Daytona. Again, we'll send it back to Caitlin here on this horse. Another smooth mover. I mean, this horse just seems to be doing a little bit better and better and better as we get closer and closer and closer to the Derby, Caitlin, which is what you want.
He's a horse also that has moved up on my list. And I think this is a horse that really maybe isn't getting as much credit as he deserves. A lot of people are just kind of writing him off as a speed horse that's going to be part of that electric speed that figures to be up front. With some of the other horses we talked about, potentially American Promise, Rodriguez, Owen Almighty, East Avenue, all those other horses, that's just simply not true. This is a horse that is tactical. He's capable of sitting if he needs to. Didn't end up doing that in the UAE Derby. Got a better break out of the gate, just went to the front simply by circumstance. But I think Christophe Lemaire learned his lesson with what happened on Crown Pride a few years back. This is a horse that I think is maybe almost as underrated as Tio Password was last year, and we saw how good Tio Password ran in spite of that. So look out for Admire Daytona. I think he's going to way outrun his odds.
Not as electric as some of the other horses we've seen today. This is fine. This is good. But we've just seen so much electricity on the racetrack, it's tough for Admire Daytona necessarily to stack up to some of those others. Anna's Promise did work this morning. We talked to Junior Alvarado. Caitlin did earlier on the backstretch. He was up for this work. 12 4/5, 24 4, 36 2. She's going to go a minute and 2/5 and gallop out 1:13 3. And I like so many other horses in the Oaks, Tony, I haven't given this one all that much consideration, but she does seem to be coming into the race the right way. Whether she's good enough remains to be seen.
Yeah, she's going to have to improve quite a bit. I mean, 3 races ago, she graduates against Maiden 50. She has an allowance victory and a very good effort in defeat to 5G in the Gulfstream Park Oaks.
Rendered Judgment also worked this morning just to pass along that time, and worked 59 flat, so sharp. You know, you see the times, but you need to see visually to really make a true assessment. But did gallop about 112 2, 126 2. So Rendered Judgment again, the first AE on the outside looking in. Those entries are trickling in. Well, they're not trickling in. We pretty much know who's running in the Oaks and Derby. But that'll happen later this morning, Tony. The entry box will close before the draw. They're going to draw all the undercard races for the Oaks and the Derby day, and then we'll put the finishing touches on those cards later on tonight with the Oaks and Derby draws. The fans are starting. We've got Downs After Dark coming up, right? Or the morning, what is it? Dawn at the Downs.
Dawn at the Downs.
I get those two
mixed. Believe me,
one's morning, one's
tricky.
night. I still get them mixed
Yeah.
up. But that's going to be happening over the course of the next couple of days as well. And, what a great experience it is to bring. We need more of this in horse racing. Bringing your kids out to the track, exposing them to this. They are the next generation of racing fans. So welcome to all the families here. Tony's waving you guys from the set, everybody. Here to Churchill Downs, great to have you on what has turned out to be a pretty nice morning. We talked about Tenma earlier. We got a chance to take a look at her, and there she is again. And we'll just bring Rosie back in because I thought, this was a horse I liked, then I was a little bit skeptical about, and this happens with the Oaks and Derby horses. I really liked what I saw this morning.
Yeah, they very intentionally worked her from the 3/8 pole past the wire to the 5/8 pole, and she stayed off the rail a little bit. Looks like maybe she was just trying to catch the best footing, as there's just a touch extra moisture on the track. But it was a good move. I thought looking at it, I thought she went a little bit quicker than 48. It almost looked like they wanted a really sharp work, which 48 is a perfectly content, happy maintenance work. But I would have said, looking at it, I thought she went a bit quicker, but she certainly is well within herself and looked like a good move to me.
Go back over to Luxor Cafe. We see him on the racetrack here. Did a little bit more this morning, which will be the case here moving forward. He just arrived a couple of days ago, so he is getting acclimated and stretching his legs, and did a lot more yesterday, and will continue to moving forward, Tony.
Yeah, he's pretty intriguing. I like him more than the other Japanese horse, Admire Daytona, only because I just loved his turn of foot in his most recent race. And other than the debut run, he's been right there in the 5 subsequent starts. 4th place finish to start his career, then missed by a neck, and now on a 4-race winning streak. It's hard. I'm not an international expert when it comes to horse racing. I don't watch a lot of the Japanese races, so I find that trying to evaluate them is tough for me because I gauge a lot. I do a lot of my handicapping based on company lines. I don't have a good gauge on company lines from horses from Japan.
Luxor, Egypt apparently is known for their cafes. They have the world's largest open-air museum. So you always kind of wonder, and I like to research, how horses got their names. There you see the FanDuel team out there, Gabby Gaudet-Cassie and Bob Baffert on the ground here at Churchill Downs. Bob,
I like how you dive in to figure out their names. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I think so too.
As an announcer, I'm just worried about Googling to get proper pronunciations.
Right, you should.
And then maybe if I remember some of the meanings, then that's just a little added bonus.
And, Travis Stone does a great job, here at Churchill Downs, particularly as a race caller, but we also appreciate him passing along those pronunciations to us. And moving forward, just got to make sure we get those correct, because I think the owners certainly deserve that. Going to take a look at Burnham Square working again. Great atmosphere here at Churchill Downs this morning and every morning leading up to the Oaks and the Derby. And I like this horse. This is a horse that we're rooting for because of the connections. With Ian Wilkes and Tracy Wilkes, his wife, and Tracy's worked at Churchill Downs a long time. We get to hold court with her on a regular basis, and Ian's a fan favorite. This horse I like. His past performances. I'm rooting for the connections, and I really like what I saw this morning, Tony.
It's a very good move for him. I mean, he's a bona fide closer, and he is showing a lot of zest and a lot of energy in this work immediately out of the gallop.
No doubt about it.
Why a lot of late runners don't have that kind of energy early in the works. They're finishing up and galloping out like a champ. He's maintaining the same enthusiasm from start to finish.
Tony's Italian. He's got the arms moving around over here as he's talking.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We got enough space between us. I'm not going to get hurt. I want to bring Rosie back in because the Bluegrass was a hard race, Rosie. He had to run really hard to the wire to get up in time. We saw how fresh he was in his first work, showing this amazing amount of energy. I got a feeling this is exactly what Ian Wilkes was hoping for coming out of the Bluegrass.
Yeah, and you can see that Brian was extremely intentional, checking his watch all the way. So I'm sure that they were looking to get, a pretty sharp work from him today, going 59-1. But the horse looked fantastic. I mean, strided out fantastically, and you can see, after the breeze was over, going down the backside, he's just wants to go all day long. I mean, he would go around again. I mean, this looks like a replay from him going to the pole, really. I mean, when he first started his breeze, and he's in the process of trying to get him pulled up. So, love this horse for the distance, love his running style. So, I mean, really nothing I didn't like about this work this morning.
Well, thanks, Rosie. It's interesting, Tony, because, maybe a couple of months ago, you start to talk about, how strong is this crop? How good are these horses? You really don't know how good the crop is until a couple of years later, after these horses put their full resumes together and you look back at it. But I've got a new burst of energy. I couldn't be more excited about what I've been seeing in the mornings, the progression of the past performances of these horses, and later on we're going to put it all together in the draw, and the anticipation, needless to say, will continue to build.
We live in a what have you done for me lately world, and this show is really exemplifying that, because all of a sudden, there's journalism, there's sovereignty, look at the work. It's like, wow, who we last see is probably the one that's going to leave the lasting impression.
No doubt about it. And for all of you that are here, and for us too, there's still a lot of horses that are going to work at 9 o'clock. So go get some breakfast, maybe come back, find yourself another cup of coffee. There's going to be a lot of workers at 9. We'll get those on tape. We'll have those for tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
Show. Now, we do have the money back offer tonight. Why? Because it's opening night, and this will last all the way through Kentucky Derby Saturday, Tony. Again, if you bet a horse to win, they run second or third in the eligible races, you'll get up to $10 back. You can utilize this to bet a favorite. You can utilize this as some insurance to bet a long shot.
It's a great promotion. I love it. Sometimes I forget, and all of a sudden there's another $10 I forgot all about. It's cool.
No doubt about it. And
this
also,
is cool as well.
Tonight, for those of you that like the tournament world and those of you that don't, you need to get involved even in some of the smaller tournaments at Twin Spires, which they offer on a regular basis. This is the more high-level tournament stuff, an $800 qualifier tonight. If you qualify for the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, $250,000 on the line, seats to next year's Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge, seats to next year's National Handicapping Championship, also the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, one of the biggest contests in the country. That will be for later on this year. Kentucky Derby seats for next year, lots on the line, including obviously that big prize pool. Get involved in the tournament scene at Twin Spires. They are doing an absolutely fantastic job. Opening night tonight, we should be fast. I'm hoping we're on the turf. I'm guessing we will be for the opening night proceedings. And in between races 5 and 6, Tony, we're going to be drawing the Kentucky Oaks and then the Kentucky Derby. Ladies first, of course. It is presented by Ford. Travis Stone will be emceeing. That means you get to call some races once again, just like you did last year under the Twin Spires.
Yeah, pretty cool. Who would have ever thought a kid born in Liverpool, England, and raised in Livermore, California, is calling races at Churchill Downs? I'm super excited.
You might be an absolute one of a kind with that background.
I might be.
Quite honestly. All right, so we saw a lot this morning. Kind of all digesting it in the morning as I'm also at the same time trying to play point guard here. But gonna go back and watch these workouts.
Did a great job with the quarterback. We'll question the arm strength, but you did a great job.
I only had to throw the ball out of bounds a couple times, which is the most important thing. But tonight we get the post positions. We get to really, digest everything. The races, the pedigrees, how the horses are coming in based on what we've seen in the workout.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, and we have a whole week to process it all, and can't wait.
Absolutely can't wait. Can't wait for opening night later on tonight. And your final thought could be a lot of different things. Let's send it up to Rosie Napravnik, who had the best view of all of us.
Yeah, and there was so much to see this morning. I mean, I have to go down and let me look at the paper. I have to go down the list. I love Burnham Score's work. I loved seeing journalism gallop. I saw Rodriguez gallop. He looked fantastic. Looking forward to seeing him work tomorrow. Sovereignty, I mean, he's a horse that if you're trying to try to play against a favorite that looks fantastic, Sovereignty would probably be in the mix for me to consider. I saw Citizens Bull gallop. I think we're going to watch him work on Monday. Who else? I loved Publisher, caught my eye again today. Grande, I watched Gallop. They all look great. Luxor Cafe was one I liked. I mean, there was so much to see, and I'm so excited for, we're going to get to see probably a few more at 9 o'clock today, and we're going to see a bunch tomorrow. So, and having the post position draws when we watch these works tomorrow, I think too is like, it's so fun to be able to have that information. So we'll go over to Caitlin on the backside and see what her final thoughts are from the backside.
I agree with you, Rosie. Looking back at these works tomorrow and seeing what we have coming up next over the next couple of days, having those post position draws kind of gets you a little bit worked out to what you're going to be deciding as far as handicapping goes a little bit later on in the week. Definitely something that bodes really well for the trainers and jockeys as far as preparing. I felt like I learned a decent bit from my interview with Junior Alvarado on Sovereignty as well as Anna's Promise. Sovereignty is a horse that I've been high on for a while. Definitely not going to jump off that bandwagon. I'm with Tony, Journalism and Sovereignty. Cold Exacta, one I'm very interested in the Kentucky Derby. I'd say this morning, I really liked what I saw from Baeza getting onto the track, me seeing him for the first time. He's a horse that it will be a little disappointing if he doesn't get into the Kentucky Derby, but I don't want to see anyone come out, of course, in that race. I do think, though, should he not draw in, he could be a horse that could be a big force in the Preakness coming up in 2 weeks if that is what they decide to target. He's a horse that is growing leaps and bounds every time that I've seen him. So he impressed me, as did Burnham Square.
Those were the longest final thoughts in the history of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show, Tony, and that's the kind of morning that it was.
It was. It was a great morning. I have a big smile. I don't have a smile on my face at 4:30 when the alarm goes off, but it's well worth it. I have a big smile on my face right now.
I am sitting next to this guy, and believe me, his energy level from the time we sat down for rehearsal to right now has gone from here to about here. Just hold that energy level. You got races to call. Yeah. We got races to handicap. We got bets to make tonight. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, buddy.
And I'm going to stick around and watch some of these workouts at 9 o'clock.
There you go. All right, so that's not the end of the Kentucky Derby morning workout show, and with some works moving back to tomorrow, some works moving back to 9 o'clock, we're going to have a lot of great content for you tomorrow and moving forward through Thurby. James Scully, speaking of energy boosts, he'll be joining the show in the next couple of days as well. But that's going to wrap it up for the Kentucky Derby morning workout show this morning. Don't forget, first post tonight for opening night at Churchill Downs will be 5 o'clock Eastern Time. The draw for the Kentucky Derby and the Oaks at 7:15 Eastern Time. A lot to look forward to. Enjoy the rest of your day.